So can I get some head nods whether people can see my screen now that says, thank you, Jeff. All right. So, as Laura said, some netiquette. Please keep your microphone off or muted unless you're asking a question. On the other hand, please keep your camera on, and I'm glad to see lots of people have. I like that when I'm talking on one of these Zoom things, so that I can see whether people are nodding or whether they're looking confused. Okay, it's much easier talking to somebody than talking to just a screen. You can ask questions at any time because these sessions are for your benefit, so don't be shy. Take yourself off mute, shout out your question, and we'll attempt to answer it. Remember the chat window. If you wave at the bottom of your screen, there should be some buttons pop up, and one of them will probably be marked chat, and you can type questions and answers. You can type questions to anybody, and you can type questions specifically to one person. And I have my one computer screen here, and I have the chat window here, and I have your pictures here, which is so I can see what's on chat, but on the other hand, I'm probably going to turn my head this way from time to time because I'm looking at your pretty faces. And the session is being recorded primarily for anyone who can't make it tonight, or somebody maybe like Luke, who is having technical problems and may not be able to get to the audio tonight. Did anybody actually watch the video from last week? You did, Suzanne? And also Walter, or the person sitting next to Walter.
Yes, I'm Marijke. Nice to meet you. And
Hi,
I did
Marijke.
watch the video. Thank you for.
Okay, so how was the video? Did it work out?
Absolutely perfect.
All right, we'll keep doing that. Okay, that's
you.
it for netiquette. Tonight's agenda, we've got 2 presentations tonight. Jeff is going to talk about what is a CADS instructor level 1 as opposed to a level 2 or a mere volunteer. What is it that we expect level 1 instructors to be able to do, say, talk about, think about? And then Laura is going to walk us through some of the important points in the manual, which you will probably actually give the official name of the manual at some point. But there are 100 pages of stuff that often makes me fall asleep when I'm reading it, but there is some important and useful stuff in there, and Laura's going to try and bring out the key points for us. And then at the end, we'll come back to me, and I'm going to do a quick update on the schedule for the coming weeks. Okay? Anybody got any questions about that? All clear? Cool. I will stop sharing.
Now I hear you.
Luke, you made it.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue was. It just came on for no reason. I haven't done anything.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed that.
All you missed was, me walking through the agenda and stuff like that. So
okay.
Nothing too important. I'm gonna make Jeff the host, and then Jeff.
You're actually there in 2 places now, Luke.
I know. Well, I was trying
frozen
everybody's phone and everything because the iPad wasn't working, my phone wasn't working, my other phone wasn't working. I don't know what the issue was.
It's okay. You're frozen on the other one anyway.
Okay. I'll get out on the other one.
Am I up now?
You're up.
Oh, I'm up.
Get on with it.
So Colin offered me 40 minutes. I don't need 40 minutes. This is all pretty straightforward. What do you need to be a CADS?
Luke, do you mind muting yourself when you're not talking?
Sorry, I'll try to figure this one
There you go. What a
And Grants has come in too. Hadn't seen him before. Okay, so what do you have to do for a CADS level 1? This is more about what you need to do to get certified. We are going to walk you through this in such an easy fashion because you're going to get a briefing on each of the 4 disciplines, or at least a video in the case of sit skiing. You're going to show up at the hill after you have read the manual. So you've already had the briefing. You're going to read the manual on the section that you're going to do that night, and you don't have to read it. Has everybody got that echo where I keep talking, or is it just me?
No, it's
Are-
because
I
someone
think
was.
we're all right. I think it was me that wasn't on mute.
Okay. That was strange. It was like a Japanese movie where I spoke and 3 minutes later the voice came across. Anyway, so we're gonna teach what you need to know at the beginning. You're gonna read the CADS manual, which I'll show you in a second. And you also have a study guide that is provided that has just the little clips of what you're going to do for that specific thing. I will show you the marking guide. I will give you a marking guide. You can actually get it online. I'll show you. I'm just going to go through quickly where you find this stuff right now. So you look at the guide, you read the manual, you show up, you should have a pretty darn good idea of what you're going to be doing that night. We only have 2.5 hours for my group, 2.5 or 3 hours, whatever it is. We don't have a lot of time on each of the things. So you really, really, really need to prepare. And for the following week, I will tell you what to read after we're done. It's not rocket science. Read the section and what we're going to do the next week. There's a few little things in here that I'll point out that you can look at now. And if you get skiing between now and then, you can actually do some practicing of some things that I'll show you. I'm not going to spend much time on the actual ski part of it because that's Caroline's. She's already explained to you what she was going to do with you, gave you a little briefing, and I will show you on the marking grid what she's going to say, yay or nay, and then you move on. Let me just share screen if I can. Tell me if you see my Google.
Not yet.
Do you
Not
see anything yet?
Not yet.
Now.
Coming.
Something's coming up.
I just beat on it. So what do you see? My Google screen?
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing and the easiest thing to do is if you want to find anything, Colin has done a really good job, put everything on the CADS NCD website that you need for this course. You can also go to cads.ski, which is the CADS national site, and the same information is on there, but it's much easier just to go to CADS NCD. So go into CADS NCD. If you haven't been here before, you should go wander around. So because we are doing some, where is it? Becoming certified, that's what you want to do. So it's pretty appropriate title. And if you look up at the top, it opens up. Can everybody see my thing? Okay, so it opens up in what you have to do and the levels and everything. We went over that last week, so you can review that if you want to. But if you go into instructor training resources, so here's a bunch of stuff on ski teaching, yada, yada, yada. The CADS level 1 student resources would be a good place to go.
Jeff, all of
Yes.
this, wasn't that attached to the email that Colin sent us last week?
Could have been. What, the link to go to here?
Yeah, I think the Colin attached a link because I started to read the manual and all of this. It looks like the link he sent us is basically this. That's even easier than going on, and just have to open the link that Colin sent us.
Yeah, if you don't want to go back through your emails, if you've saved the link somewhere, great. I'm just doing this to get you to where the document I want to show you. The two documents, I'll show you what you have to do as part of it in the marking grid, and then I'll show you quickly one thing out of the ski manual. So level 1, the ski level 1 study guide. So that's all of level 1. It's from 2019, so it's fairly new, or 2020 rather. We'll open that up. And there's your study guide. So each of the disciplines at the beginning, there's just a bunch of stuff to read through. There's where we show you the certification. And then you get down to the first module, which is the CADS teaching methodology, which is what Carolyn's going to show you. You can read through this. It tells you exactly what you should know. And if you, maybe not in that one, but in the visual impairment section, it has Appendix 6, page 178. Those are all out of the CADS manual. So it tells you what you should cover, what you should read. So in this case, it's the AOT, Ask, Observe, Test. So it's all laid out what you need to know. It gives you sections to look at. It gives you some teaching aids, how to use hands to guide inside, use your voice to guide outside, some teaching techniques, and then expectations here. Tethering techniques, because that's part of the VI, lift procedures, how to get on and off the lift, safety, which will be in every one. And if you watch as we go through the next section, it's laid out identical, and you'll see a lot of it is the same stuff. We always ski the same way. We always teach the same way. It doesn't matter which discipline you're in. How we get up after people fall is very, very similar in each of the sections. We're not going to spend every time we go through another one, unless there's something a little bit different. For sit ski, it's a little bit different if somebody falls down to get themselves back up, which we want to teach. And the lift is a little bit different, but you'll see they're all laid out in just about the same way. So I'm not going to go through each of them. You guys will go through that before the discipline. And if you want to go through this before you get the lecture, it's helpful to have the background. Then what's told in the lecture will make more sense to you. And we have ski level 1, ASD, CI, which we'll be briefed on as well. And then the last thing I want to show you, which you may or may not be able to see, I can make it a little bit bigger, I think, if I was better at this. I don't see the make or bigger button. There we go. So the marking grid, this is what I use. This is what you can use. Print it out. It's at the back of that manual. Just print it out and look at it. This top section up here, teaching methodology equivalent. So right here is personal skiing. This is the part that that Caroline's going to teach you and rate you on. She'll put either ME, met expectation, or needs improvement, or give you a 0 if you can't ski at all, but I don't think anybody's in that boat. So that is your personal skiing, which she will evaluate before you come and do all this. So with each of the disciplines, 3-track, 4-track, sit ski, there is how you teach it, basically. So that's the ski methodology up in this area. So when I fill this out at the end of the thing, it takes me about a week and a half, because each of these, not on this one, but there's a little thing in the corner that will say met expectation or needs improvement, and then I comment on each of them, and you'll get that at the end of the course. The second part, you'll see it's broken up into the 4 disciplines: VI, 3-4-track, sit ski, and ASD CI. And you can go through each of those things. Some of them are specific, like ability to guide indoors is only on VI. The other ones you don't guide other people, ability to guide on snow. So each of them, if they're NA, obviously you don't do it. Bi-ski, adjust the sit ski is only for the sit ski. And if you look up here, sections 1, 4, and 5. So this is 1, section 4, and section 5. In order to pass, you have to have an amazing 14 out of 24 of met expectations. If you only have 14 of 24, we need some more practice with you. they're not all that difficult, and you'll see after you've done it a couple times for level 1. Met expectations is very easy to get to. And then if you look at the second one here, section 2 and 3 must obtain 28 met expectations. So that's 2 and 3. So there's a bunch of empty spaces there to get those 28. And the thing is actually made, if I went in and put NI and a bunch of them, it would actually tell me that you didn't pass the course. And it explains everything that you need to know. So between that book that you got and this, you'll know exactly what we're going to test, Sean. You'll know exactly what you have to do. Your expectations are all in that book and in here. We don't test outside of it. The only thing I will say is when we're teaching you, we will probably go beyond what a level 1 is expected to know. Because a level 1 really is just a single turn to a stop. If you go through level 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not much more than go down a hill, turn, stop. That's all the expectation is. So as a program coordinator, that isn't very helpful for me. So we will go just a little bit beyond that so you can actually help out and do some real ski instructing with people, because we've given you just a little bit more information and a little bit more training. The next one's down at the bottom. These are Alpine Responsibility Code, Duty of Care, and critical points from AOT. You'll notice these are not met expectation or need improvement. You have to meet those things. So the Alpine Responsibility Code, where you stop, where you train, how you go from one slope to the other, speed control, all the things that are in those 9 or 10 Alpine safety code things, all the time everybody's looking at those. So make sure you stop in an appropriate place where you're not going to get run into or in the dark, or all those things that just make sense. Make sure you do it. And then you get a little right up at the end. So for us as evaluators, if you can talk your way through things, if you say things like, oh, look, I'm in a safe place. Why doesn't everybody move over to the right a little bit? So we're a little bit more out of the way. We know you're thinking about safety. We know you're thinking about that. So you can talk out loud so that we know what you're thinking, saying, well, I've noticed 3 or 4 things that we could work on, but the one that I think makes the most sense and will help you the most is this. And then you'll go through, explain it, go through the AOT process, but do say things out loud. Don't go into great detail and blah, 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 blah to prove that you know things. A very simple, yes, you're thinking about it. I know you're thinking about it. That's great. Perfect. I know you understand the concept. I know you understand what's good, and you move on. Any questions on that? Does anybody not know what you need to look at or do? I just have one more thing that I want to show you. In the manual, the ski instructor manual from 2018 on page 119, it's actually in the VI section, because that's where they explain stand-up tethering. It says page 119, but I think it's page 118. 118. You'll see in your manual in a bunch of places where it says the 10 steps to tethering. So what we do is we will test you on these things, and we'll take you down the hill to make sure you can do all of these things that are in here. They're not hard, but most people have now learned to ski where they're carving really, really hard, and they don't think about things like doing wedge turns or doing side slipping or doing all the things that help you with speed control while you are tethering somebody. So we'll do a couple runs towards the beginning, and every so often we'll practice them. So the first one is just a snowplow wedge. We'll just make sure everybody can do a good wedge and a fairly solid wedge, so that when we do get tethering a sit ski, even with just a weighted sit ski, we really have to make sure that you can do a pretty effective wedge so that you can control it. Pedal turn, that's a wedge just turning. pressuring one ski the other side to do a turn, a wedge turn. We make sure you can do a hockey stop fairly quickly on both sides because you never know when you have to do an emergency stop. So we'll make sure you can do all that. Side slip, just we'll get we won't do it on a narrow, level slope. We'll find a fairly good slope. We'll do some side slipping down the hill on both sides so that you can go straight down the hill in one direction. And then the next one is falling leaf, where you'll go down the hill, you'll go back and forth like a falling leaf. That's just for edge control, to make sure that if you are tethering somebody and you do a side slip, that you can actually control your speed through the falling leaf exercise. And then snowplow to a skidded parallel turn. Synchronized skiing will get you to ski right behind somebody, like 5 feet behind them, and just match their turns on the way down, just to make sure you can control your speed based on somebody else in front of you. Then we take the next step. We give you a bamboo pole, and all you do is hold those forward and aft. You ski behind somebody with bamboo poles. You're not controlling them. You're just keeping your speed consistent with bamboo poles, or a little bit stiffer. So if you do close in a little bit, you can use the person in front of you to slow yourself down a little bit. Then we'll put a waist tether on somebody, and we'll do some flexible tethers. And then we'll use synchronized skiing using handheld tethers, again, and then weighted sit ski or a stand-up skier. So we work up to, so some of those things like falling leaves and doing the things, not skiing badly, but doing all the things nobody practices anymore. We'll run through all those just so you have them. And so if you're up skiing before that, go ahead and have a crack at them. Everybody will think you're nuts on the hill, but it's for a good reason. All speed control, all position control makes it a whole lot easier when you're doing the thing. And that is all I have. So questions?
Hi, Jeff. I have a few questions. On the manual itself, does that mean that to become certified, we have to be able to go on the jet ski and basically do what the visual impaired person would do on the jet ski? Or
sit ski?
Because I look at all the pictures, and if you look at the on page 117, they show pictures of people like on the
No, that 117 is actually a mono ski. You will not, for a level 1, you do not have to go in a sit ski. We will, if you want to, we'll gladly put you in one to see what it feels like. But
okay.
we'll have a very, very good tetherer behind you. It's not going to be one of the other people on the course.
Okay, so you don't expect us to basically be able to ski using all
Nope.
these different. Okay, how about the skiing backward? Because I know Caroline was mentioning last week that we
Absolutely.
need to. So does that mean that we need to go down like a diamond from? I've never skied backwards in my life.
No, if you have somebody that you have to ski backwards with, it's going to be on a green hill at most.
Okay.
We're
you
not
want a
talking
balloon-
about fancy
No.
Okay,
trick
it's like
ski.
snowplow backwards.
It's like you're still in a wedge, but you're skiing backwards.
Bunny hill
Okay.
backwards, just to put your hands up and slow somebody down so that they don't go running away on you.
Okay,
And-
so you
and
don't
remember
expect
we're
us to
having-
ski.
And remember, we're having training like every weekday for those that are doing the Edelweiss. Like those are sessions that you're practicing and getting trained. Then you have an assessment day. So remember that these are days that you will be getting trained, and then the last days will be the assessment days. So
Yeah,
know that.
Well, the assessment day is actually in March, but
that's right.
Sure,
So
yes. I'm just saying it's after.
Yeah. So I guess, Jeff, by the time we get to March, if we do need improvement, my understanding is that you'll let us know way in advance. That's what you need to practice.
I will
for the
let you know.
assessment day.
I will
It's
let
not
you
going to
know.
be a surprise the day of the
No.
assessment.
No, I will let you know. If I haven't given you feedback every day as we're going through every drill, I'm failing. So I will let you know exactly where you are throughout the whole thing.
Perfect, thank you.
And Tim will as well. One other thing, one of the things is the assessment. Each one of them has at the beginning, you have to fill out a medical form. That's more for if you're in a program where somebody's coming for one day. So you get a little bit of information from them. They come in, and then a lot of the big programs, have you fill out a medical form for them. We're sort of the other way with our programs where people, when they sign up, put in their medical things, what issues they have, what they can do, what they can't do. So in this case, it's more, you'll get a medical form or you'll get some information. I'll say somebody will be acting and you'll try and evaluate them and see how it goes. So instead of filling out that huge medical form that's like 3 pages long, it's more taking the information and seeing how you will ski with them. So there'll be a lot of role playing. So I'll call somebody to the side and say, okay, you're a brand new 3-track skier. You are above knee amputee right side. And then that's all you'll really tell them. If they ask you what sports you do, you make stuff up. If they ask, have you ever skied before? No, or I skied once 5 years ago. Play the game on both sides, both as the instructor and as the student. And I'll give you enough information that you can play it well enough. And for a sit ski, you only have to tether a weighted sit ski. And honest to God, you got to go down, turn it, and stop it. So positioning is important. You're not going a million miles an hour, and you're not doing link turns. The important thing for the sit ski is we want you to be able to fit somebody in it, to get the right equipment out of the shed, to push somebody over to the lift, to help them on the lift. And then as a level 1, you may get somebody may let you tether somebody down a smaller, easier slope, but you're probably not going to be the main tetherer for anything unless you improve and they trust you as a level 1 to do that. But it's very much up to the programs to decide after that what they let you do. And in that month after we're done, try and get as much as you can. If you're at Edelweiss, if you're one of the Edelweiss people, or in February, we'll probably have fun nights that we used to have where people can come up and try different things. We'll reinstate that in February. So the 4 weeks in February, and it doesn't matter what hill you're from. If you want to come up, you're more than welcome. Piano. And I still haven't put the information up on the tethering clinic, but I plan to do that very soon. But it is the 29th, 30th, the Friday, Saturday, one of those days. Now I'm done.
Perfect.
Okay, when you get that tethering clinic information, Jeff, please pass it on to me and we'll put it on the website. And
oh, if you want to put it on, I'll send you the information in about 2 minutes then.
I will do that tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
My turn?
You done, Jeff?
Oh yeah, God, yeah.
Any more questions for Jeff?
Thank you. No.
Okay, so yep, you're up, Laura. Let's see if I can make you. I can't make you the host because Jeff is the host right now. Jeff, can you make either me or Laura the host?
You might as well jump to me.
Well, I'm having trouble here.
Control.
You have to find my face or my L Wismer.
Yeah, you're the one without a face.
I cannot find the right. I mean,
No,
a little.
Do I need to talk? So
wave
I
at Laura. Click on the 3 little blue dots, and it'll be, and the menu will pop up, including make host.
I don't have that. I don't have the whole screen. It went away.
Switch to gallery view.
Switch to who?
Gallery view.
I think that's what I have.
Maybe stop sharing could also help you. Not sure.
I don't have it. I don't have any of those buttons.
You were doing so good last week.
I know.
I am just going to. Top of the screen, the share should appear.
I know where it's supposed to be. Oh, here it is. It's on the other screen over here. New share. So I have the share button. You are, how do I get out?
Stop sharing, don't you?
at the bottom.
I got it now. Just
Or
popped
it's
up.
actually
Okay,
that's
I
the
stopped sharing.
All right, stop sharing.
Sorry
Now
about
you've
that.
got it, Laura.
Oh, wait. And I did the share sound, so hopefully this works.
Yes, yes,
Coming up.
yes.
We will have a plan B if my videos don't
There
work
we
as
go.
well. So I I live in Perth, cottage country area, so my internet is not the greatest. Hence why I also have it with no video, and I'm just trying to minimize my stuff. Okay. So welcome. Some of the links I'll have in here also will get you to the resources. So got many methods on how to get to the resources. So, and can you guys, do you see this? A participant has enabled closed captioning little bar. I just don't want that to be
You
distracting.
can close it.
I'm gonna
I
close that.
suspect it might have been Luke when he couldn't hear us.
Okay, great. So a bit of my agenda, I'll try to be 30 minutes. I have some videos here though, so if it's take a bit longer, they're video. We'll do some alpine code, what you do in case of accidents, some words of dignity, learning styles, medical form, quick snippet on the modules. My internet is unstable for those who just saw that. Sorry, I apologize. Some ask observe concept and a bit of the code of ethics and code of conduct. So for starters, I do want this to be a little bit interactive. You can either go in the chat or you can unmute your mic, or you can put a hand up, a few options. And anyone, let's just see list off maybe one of these ski alpine responsibility code. And this is, remember, this is something that's on the back of our ski pass sometimes, or this is also posted before go on the chairlift or when you buy a ski pass. And it's very important to note that this code is for everyone, including CADS. CADS does not have any exemptions from the code. So even though we have our unique situations, we must abide by these. So anyone want to, it doesn't have to be word for word, just the concept. Does anyone have an idea?
Take a look at the chat.
Okay, let's look at the chat. Can you, just because can you list them off, Colin, for me?
Sure. Jeff says no drugs or booze.
Nice, no drugs or booze. That is one.
Daniel says skiing control.
That is another one. So let me just, I'm gonna reveal them so people can see. So always stay in control. You must be able to stop or avoid people or objects.
Oh,
We've got impaired is over down here. Any others?
I had don't go down closed runs.
So yes, that is number 7. So this is 8, 9, 7.
Grant said respect.
Respect. Let's just see if there's something that's kind of like that. There's a few things that's it's not exactly there. In fact, we'll make more so in our code of conduct, but not really our
Yeah. It was a
Alpine's
guess.
responsibility code.
That's
But
right.
it's a good guess. There's things that there's things that are respectful, I guess, some of these things.
Know how to use the
Think of safety.
Yeah, Grant has said if you see a crash, stay with the
Oh,
crash.
yes.
I had to Google for that one. So-
I think that's more in our instructor guidelines. Jeff said downhill skier has priority.
Yes.
I would add stop in safe places.
Yes, we want to be visible at all times. So maybe I'll give some clues. Something that kind of prevents people from crashing into each other.
I think Daniel got it. Look up before merging.
Look up before
Nice.
merging. That's yeah.
So something's kind of like also what you do when you're driving a car, you're following the road, and on the road there might be these things that tell you what's
Things
gonna
like
happen.
You have
signs.
to merge onto a trail. Look
Rules
up
of
the hill and yield to others.
Yeah, that's number 4. I think you might be going for follow the signs.
Follow the signs.
Remain in the
Um,
scene.
There's also use of equipment, is there not, for like
You're
lifts and
right.
stuff like that?
There is
Remain in the scene and
So-
identify yourself.
that is review a crash, but someone was mentioning about going on to chairlifts. Yes, so you have to be able to know how to load a ride safely. And then the last one here, number 5. Okay, it has to
Yeah,
do with
it's
your
your-
equipment.
I know.
It's not really, there's something on a snowboard and there's something on a ski.
Oh,
Because I know in the book
brakes.
it says.
Oh, I heard
Yeah,
someone
I
say the
do
word
with,
brakes.
Yeah.
So it's the runaway. You must prevent runaway equipment.
yeah, I've forgotten that one.
So let's,
When I learned to ski, they hadn't invented ski brakes, and if you were in something like a gondola where you carried your skis, you got to the top of the mountain, and people would be putting their skis on at the top of the mountain, and if they dropped them, they would take off down the hill like a torpedo, and everybody would shout ski, and you had to look up here and make sure it wasn't going to take your ankles out, which it would definitely try to do.
okay. I hope this kind of works.
Hey everybody, my name's Eric. I'm with the Fernie Alpine Resort Ski Patrol.
Oh no. Let me see if I'm going to try to buffer it.
We're good there for about 10 seconds.
Yep. I was good too for those same 10 seconds. I'm just going to pause it for a second. And I won't be finicky with this too much. I'm only going to try it one more time. And if, oh, let's just see it load. I'm just watching this load for a sec. But were those first few words okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I recommend Colin play it.
Shall we attempt once?
You attempt once, and then we'll try once with
attempt
me,
one.
and then it'll be, if not, I'll put it on the website.
Oh. And we're proud to present to you this short video on the
Alpine Responsibility Code.
Keep in mind that we're professional ski patrollers, not professional actors.
Always stay in control. You must be able to stop or avoid other people or objects. People ahead of you have the right of way. It is your responsibility to avoid them. Do not stop where you obstruct a trail or are not visible from above. Before starting downhill or merging onto a trail, look uphill and yield to others. If you are involved in or witness a collision or accident, you must remain at the scene and identify yourself to the ski patrol. Always use proper devices to help prevent runaway equipment. Observe and obey all posted signs and warnings. Keep off closed trails and obey area closures. You must not use lifts or terrain if your ability is impaired through the use of alcohol or drugs. You must have sufficient physical dexterity, ability, and knowledge to safely load, hide, and unload the lifts. If in doubt, ask the lift attendant.
By following these simple rules, everyone is sure to have a good time on the mountain.
Okay. How bad was that quality?
It was okay.
Yeah, it worked.
Hopefully it worked. Okay, so now I'm just gonna
Only
try to.
semi-bad, yeah.
This is one of the best
Okay.
opening days I can
We might try
remember.
the other ones with Colin, but thank you for going through that. At least that first one, you kind of grabbed the concept. Okay, so quickly, so if we do have an accident, we have these 6 items that we really want to make sure we're complying with. So of course, so staying with the injured person and reassuring, but do not move the person. We aren't ski patrol. We got to remember that we don't, as CADS program, we don't teach you first aid. So we really must be using the ski patrol as they are the experts, and not only they're the experts at first aid, but first aid on a ski hill is also very different than doing first aid inside in a controlled setting. So moving on to number 2, we want to obviously notify ski patrol, which is brought up in our responsibility code, and we want to make sure you can get an extra person to go and notify ski patrol, but you want to make sure it's not you. You must stay with your skier. If you have a group, keep the group together. And what's great with a group, while you might be with the victim or the person that is hurt, they can also help you with figuring out, okay, what's the time, what's the location, the conditions of the visibility. Is it snowing? Is it dull lighting? And helping identify how the incident happened and if other people were involved. And then following that, there would be a report that you'll have to help fill out after everyone's back inside. And we want to make sure to do not make any statements or speculations on the accident and refrain from judgment and comments.
So just as a note, that
Yep.
fill out the report is a CADS report. It's not a Hill report. They may ask you for information, but there is a CADS report. Each of the programs will have a slightly different standard. At Edelweiss, if you hit anybody, knock them over, you pretty much do a quick report. We hang on to it. If there's nothing that happens, they don't come back to the hill and with anything, then we may not submit that report. But if anybody gets hurt from the CADS program or you hurt somebody on a hill, you have to do that CADS report.
Thanks. Now moving along to words with dignity. So a lot's going on in this page, but it's more so to kind of grasp the general concept. I have some interesting items here. So note that all of this was found on the Active Living Alliance, and this is their information about words with dignity. And so they kind of were grasping us the concept of, did you know that the original meaning of the word handicap comes from cap in hand, meaning someone who begs for money? So really just in perspective, when we use these terms at all, identify what we're trying to get across. So We want to make sure we're refraining from old language, and we really want to be making sure that the person first language. So someone's a person, and then if there's something that needs to be described after, then it's described after. It's not the, let's say, the impairment or their challenge first. It's the person first, and then a potential restriction that does that or situation that they are in. So basically, just kind of this blurb shifting the focus from the disability to the person. It is respectful and does not emphasize on any differences. And really, when in doubt, we want to just stay away from any negative language, judgmental, I said, kind of old-fashioned, patronizing, or stereotyping. We want to make sure our language is respectful, consistent, and current, and you'll be fine. So that this middle phrase was pretty interesting. So often the disability is irrelevant. You don't need to label a person, simply refer to the person by their name. And I think that's quite important too. And on our right here is showing those examples of the person first, then what they potentially are living with. So person with cerebral palsy, instead of just spastic, or instead of just lame, it's person who is mobility impaired. So it really has all of that same person first language. So this is just a capture of exactly that. Moving quickly on to learning styles. So remember, in all these disciplines, we're going to have different ways of learning, not only with their additional challenge or adaptive equipment. They also are, everyone's different from me to you. And so we've got to be aware of how they learn. And this is something that as an instructor, you'll have to figure out over time, and it can certainly start off with a little bit of the introduction of getting to know them. So we want to remember that there's doers. So these people are more experimental learning, and they like that trial and error. They want to but they literally actually want to physically do something and almost find their own, it's like almost in their own adventure and discover where they need to improve. So that's one person. There's also the observer or watcher. So that's our visual, and they would prefer demonstrations. So demonstrations of you doing the actual task or someone else doing the task while you're explaining can help the student grasp the concept. And another very useful technique are videos of other people doing it, or sometimes it's actually, if you have permission, or even if, say, they have their phone, you could videotape them on their phone, and then they have the video of how they ski, and maybe it's an area of where they skied really well, and another area where you can point out where they have you're trying to work on improvements, and it also can kind of get them pumped up for the next week. So that's kind of a cool technology now that we have that readily in our hands. We don't have to grab a videotaper. We've got phones that can do that. We've got thinkers, so those are more auditory. So tell them why we are doing the drill. They do want to think about it. They want to understand the movement. Like if you want to tell them to put your foot here or shift your balance over there, you need to explain also why. Like this will do X, Y, Z, or this will prevent you from doing this and allow you to do that. And that's, of course, a lot of language, and maybe not everyone is that thinker, but there certainly are those people that they need to understand, and that kind of gives them that aha moment. And they're not really memorizers. They want to know why. And the last one here, we have feelers. So those are people that actually have more of like a kinesthetic learning and a sensory learning. Now, this is one that you have to highlight, that you have to ask for permission before moving their ski, their pole, their hands into a motion that you're trying to teach. So the difference between a feeler and a doer, like both active items, but the feeler doesn't necessarily want to jump into an experiment not knowing what the sensation is. It's someone that they actually you might say, okay, put your foot there. They don't do it. They need to slide their ski to that you're trying to portray. So for example, this is a little bit about me, and this is Jeff. Jeff was teaching me how to sit ski independently a couple of years ago. And I'm in the well, I'm a bit of everything, to be honest, and someone can be off course a bit of everything, but this particular situation is I was more of that thinker and feeler concept, is that I do have a technical background. I do like it when someone explains to me the concept and what you should feel and why you're feeling this. So it took me a week to think about what he had to say, and I did have some improvements, but I still wasn't cutting it. And then he just kind of jumped onto the back of my ski to actually let me feel the sensation of skidding the turn, because I was trying to learn that first movement in a sit ski. That's for level 2, not for level 1, but it clicked once I felt the sensation he was explaining and pairing it up with thinking. So we got to make sure that if it's something's not working with you in one section, we'll try another one, and maybe it's a combo. I have some cartoons here that I thought were pretty funny here that kind of explain a little bit of the concept. So here's this little guy saying, "One size fits all, trust me." So kind of teaching is not necessarily a one size fits all. Thought that was kind of funny too. So for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Kind of not fair. And it's kind of the concept of what kind of learner are they, and don't think they're going to pass that test. And I thought this was kind of cute, where you kind of got this little girl here thinking about how she's going to assemble this plane, and this character over here almost looking at it visually instead of detailed oriented or the explanation. So in my mind, this little girl here is more of the potentially the thinker, and maybe a bit of the doer, because she's diving deep into there, and maybe this guy here is more of a visual, because he's literally thinking of the plane, and he's also already touching the plane. He's a little story. I am going to switch gears with this next YouTube video clip. Is a bit quick, and it's supposed to capture a little bit of this concept. So if you can kind of be ready, I will stop sharing and put you as host. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah, let's see.
So that's slide 6. Well, you can pop up slide 6 while I try to stop share. And I find Colin, which is right here. Where's your dots?
So this is very much like the ski patrol. We're not professional IT guys.
Oh, perfect.
Can people see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
You watching that? Yeah. You seeing that, Ray? You catching it? Yeah, falling on the ground. Okay, now what do I have left? 2 jacks, 1 8, 1 king, 1 6, 2 aces, 1 10, 1 9, 1 5. 1 5. You are beautiful, man.
When you focus on Kung Fu, when you concentrate, you stink. But perhaps that is my fault. I cannot train you the way I have trained the 5. I now see that the way to get through to you is with this.
Oh, great, because I'm hungry.
You are free to eat. Enjoy.
Hey!
I said you are free to eat. Have a dumpling.
You see that flame? Every time you pronounce the letter H correctly, the flame will waver, and every time you drop your H, the flame will remain stationary. That's how you'll know if you've done it correctly. In time, your ear will hear the difference. See it better in the mirror. Now, listen carefully. In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly ever happen. Now, repeat that after me. In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly ever happen.
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly ever happen.
Oh, no. I haven't no ear at all.
Shall I do it over?
No, please. Start from the very beginning. Just do this. Go, ha, 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 ha.
Ha, 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 ha.
Go on.
Perfect. Thanks. So while he's stopping presenting and going back to myself, it was interesting. So you can kind of see that first clip. You're seeing a lot of those cards. He's looking at those cards. He's really grasping the visual concept there. That was pretty straightforward. The second one with the Kung Fu Panda, I know it was a bit choppy, but he was trying to, how to teach him was more so through, I guess, eating instead of telling him how to do Kung Fu, and was challenge him to do something. So allowed some kinesthetic learning there. And then the last one I thought was pretty interesting for the auditorial learner. So he was trying to tell her to say that H word, ha, and she wasn't getting it when he asked her to read something off a paper. And then he's like, stop that. I'm just going to ha you to get you to understand. So all of these clips will be in the presentation I will send you so you can see it in better quality, but I'm sure you just grasped the concept. Let's see if I can start sharing. Okay. Share.
I don't. Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Okay. So I won't go into huge detail, but this is pretty interesting. Our medical form, and just note, Tim really brings this up a lot. The answer is almost always medical form. Like, where can you find the information? He'll sometimes say that, and it's true. The medical form, it has a lot of information. So from some of the physical items, heart problems, feeding tube, diabetes, like it gets quite in depth. and it kind of tells you some more about mobility information of your student. Got some emergency contacts, experience. This form is in the CADS manual, so you will get to be able to dive deep a little bit better, but it's good to just kind of highlight the main title. So learning disabilities, we've got behavior information, which would be very important to know beforehand for teaching in any discipline. We've got some emotional information, also another good one. We've got at the learning environment, kind of almost goes hand in hand with behavioral and emotional, and participants, recreation, and leader information. So endurance, kind of do concept of that. And a lot this, if you can find out this information before the first day, really helps you feel a little bit more prepared for what's to come, and so on. So the modules that will be covered, we've kind of said this word modules a few times now. Those are the disciplines that we have for CADS, so autism spectrum, which is also known as ASD, cognitive and intellectual impairment, CI. We've got 3-track, 4-track, sit-ski, and visually impaired. Some quickly items that you could bump into in those categories. So in the ASD-CI, that could be someone that's maybe living with Down syndrome, or it could be someone that just has a time delay, not necessarily intellectual, but they can't necessarily maybe communicate very well, but they could understand. So you will have to find ways, or perhaps get some tricks from their guardian or their medical form, or having a way to ask them, like, how do they communicate best to you, so you can use those tools if it's pictures or so on. Track 3, that's your amputee above or below the knee, or perhaps just one side is extremely weak relative to the other, and maybe their leg is slightly raised up, and they can't put another ski on there, so they could be 3-track. 4-track, so we've got someone maybe living with cerebral palsy, someone living with spina bifida, MS, skiing on 2 prosthetic legs. Basically, it's someone that has minimal to no strength to lift their feet and can support themselves to stand with the use of aid and have a strong upper body strength and endurance, because you can imagine they'll be using the 2 outriggers to allow them to have their support. And then sit ski. Sit ski could be a para or quadriplegic, someone who might have a stroke, or they cannot just support themselves standing. And then in some cases, we don't necessarily recommend, but there's extreme risk of not being in control. Sometimes we do have students in sit ski, but if they can stand and have strength, we really do encourage them to do maybe the tethering concept, but that's up to the discretion of the program, and you can obviously discuss that with your director. So we have the 4 steps that will be occurring in all those disciplines, which is the introduction to equipment, mobility on the snow, gliding and stopping, and individual turns, not necessarily linking. And Jeff did touch base on that when this is what you're getting trained and assessed on, but you might get a little bit more information on how to fully link the turns, because that is also useful for teaching. So but it's not necessarily a hard requirement for the assessment to pass. He also touched on that you'll learn about way to fall and get up with the equipment. So you can imagine a 3-tracker, a sit ski, and 4-tracker have all this additional equipment. So you'll be getting taught how to get up or protect themselves when they do fall and do a safe fall. And of course, we'll be touching base on how to get into the line and not necessarily just, but then sitting down and then in the chairlift and then get off the chairlift and how that approach would be. Assessment of ability. So we've talked a lot about an ask, observe, test, and it first starts with our assessment process, which is done continuously. It's the first day, mid-season, end of season, multiple times during the class. And we really want to be understanding the individual's ability within their physical or mental capacity. So really wanted to highlight their strengths and understand their challenges. So we want to determine the factors of abilities to ski to their personal optimal efficiency of the CSI methodology. So some of these factors can include their level of physical restriction. So maybe they can only visually see so far, or they can only hear so much, or their positioning or mental capacity, there's some restriction. So it's determining that level of where they're at to help you guide your lesson, understanding balance, mobility, and strength, which can also go hand in hand with endurance. Someone can have strength, but can you last that for 4 hours of skiing? We'll be using that AOT method, which I'll touch base a little bit more throughout all of those 4 steps. And it even just starts off with the medical questionnaire. Even though you haven't met them, but you're already kind of actively asking questions in your head about this person and learning about the person. And even when the person enters the room, we want you guys to be extremely observant all the time and taking notes on that. And these are concepts that Tim and Jeff will be bringing up in their lessons to you. Is how someone enters the room can tell you so much. Not only about their confidence or their personality, can also just tell you their balance and their strength already. So a little bit more in depth with the ask, observe, test. Just looking at some of my notes here. So
Can I just jump in with one while you're checking notes? Just one thing we don't ask is how they acquired their disability.
Yes, that's actually, I was
Jeff
about
has
to
a
say
favorite
that.
story on this, which I think goes along with, so is skiing with some injured military veterans, and somebody asks, so, how did you lose your leg? And the answer starts with, well, we were driving in an up-armored Humvee through Fallujah when we hit an IED. And at this point, 2 things have gone wrong. You've asked them to recall and replay the worst day of their life. And you're getting a lot of information that you don't actually need to know. So we don't kind of ask, how did you lose your leg, or how did you come to be in a wheelchair? We want to focus on what is it that they can do. Can you walk on one leg with crutches? Can you push yourself around in a wheelchair unaided? It's we are interested in what they can't do as well, but really not the history on the why.
Right. This is another tad on that is understanding potentially how long they've been using their aid. So it does allow you to understand if they're super used to their chair, especially say if it's a new chair. You can I think it is useful to know how long, but you're right, the why is not necessary. So we have some of the questions that I kind of portray up here at the top, all of which are found in the manual. So we're asking the level of restriction, the level of activity or endurance or strength that they have, what movements they can or can't do. So that's exactly what Colin was mentioning. What can they understand? You know, maybe they can't understand left and right. That's something that can come up. So we'll have to think of tools to explain left and right. Maybe it's colors, maybe it's something else that they can see. And we want to know what they're confident in, as well as questions that you can say that are more active, in the sense of they're active during the actual skiing portion. Is how does it feel? How did you feel this? Did you see that? What did you see? What did you hear? Can you hear this? So they're active questions that you can be doing during outside portion. We want to be observing their balance, their pivot, their edging. So I kind of go into details of what I mean by balance. Do they use additional tools for balancing? Do they show dominance on one side? Pivoting is more so, do they separate their upper body with their lower body? Can they do that when they're on the hill, going down the hill? Can they do that with their skis on the actual flat terrain? Or even inside, you can kind of see when someone, if you say like you ask someone maybe for a high five, how do they give you a high five? Do they twist their body to, say they're sitting in a chair, sitting in their wheelchair, do they twist their body to give you a high five? Like doing things and movements that allows you to observe them moving their body can already give you indication of what they can do. Edging is kind of a side to side lateral movement too. So testing is basically the concepts we want to be testing is their center mobile stance. Are they turning with their lower body? And do they have control of their ski with the use of edge? So this will all come to play once we get on the hill, but this is the concept, and we want to make sure that we're not just doing the ask inside and the observe on the base of the hill and the test is on the hill. It's all intermingled. It's going all the time, and it can change. It can change based on difference between inside and outside, or the difference of the time of day. So it's always important to be aware. We want to make sure that we're being cognitive of like who's around, especially when we talk about sensitive questions. And we also want to be able to use, if there's guardians around, if they have any tools or suggestions, we want to leverage that. Okay, so a little bit more in depth about that AOT. Some of the common areas that we can see in the initial stage when you're meeting your student in all disciplines, really understanding that personality, their experiences that they've already had in skiing or maybe not skiing, and also what motivates them. These are all things that are super important to know about your skier. If your skier just says, yeah, mom and dad just signed me up and I'm just complying with that, I don't think they'd say it like that, but or they're saying, you know what, I've been wanting to do this my whole life, I've gotten this opportunity, and you can understand a little bit more about them, so you might have to use different tools for different motivations. And then when it comes to kind of different questions that can come up for the different disciplines. So what I have here is for sit ski. What's kind of important with a sit skier is that that's a little bit different than everyone else, is a little bit of their grip strength. So you can understand that they might have to hold on to their own outriggers. Outriggers being just so that not these, the pole with the ski, just to make sure everyone's following along. We want to make sure they have grip strength, that they have head mobility so that they can actually move their head side to side. That is super important when you have a student that doesn't have outriggers and really has minimal motion. If they can move their head, that can help you significantly when you're tethering. If their head goes the opposite way you want to turn, it's a struggle. You definitely are fighting against them. So if their head can move, that's great. Or if they have core strength or no core strength, that's good to know, because that can allow you to know what tools that they'll need to use. Who also want to know, you'll know right away if they're wheeling themselves in or if they're in a power chair. So that's kind of specific with your sit skier. Your 3-track, if you can imagine, standing on one leg for a really long time requires a lot of endurance. You'll realize this when we get to that session. It's quite tiring, especially when you're trying to get your ski, just one ski on with your outriggers trying to support you. So it's really important for this type of student to understand their endurance and doing those asking and observing, if they're getting tired or if they're getting frustrated. Maybe it's because they're tired. So might need to somehow bring a chair if you have another volunteer with you to help them with that endurance. So these people will have to have a little bit more upper body strength. And some questions that are a little bit different here is they might be temperature sensitive to the one leg that is amputated. And they have, when they fall, they really want to protect that one, their leg that's amputated. So it's an area that's a little bit more specific to 3-track. 4-track, what is important to observe and very unique to a 4-tracker is their gait. So their gait is just kind of how they walk inside or how they shuffle with their ski, with their outriggers. This will help you understand what they can or can't do. And that's the one thing that's unique to there. And another unique thing to the VI is their ability to hear, because that is going to be one of their main tools to explain is them listening to your voice and you being clear with your instructions, obviously because they have minimal sight. And some other questions for them is, how far can they see in their depth or peripheral? And you're asking those questions and observing, do they move their head to see you, or can they keep their head straight to also see you? It allows you to know where you need to be and when you're explaining. Got some examples here, but I do want to be cognizant of time, so I am going to move along. But it's something that you can definitely look into. We want to remember that we have the Ask Observe test, start of season, mid of season, end of season. And I think the Ask Observe test can lead to trust. And this YouTube clip, I will wait and maybe let you guys dive deep into this one because it's a little bit longer, but it's super inspirational. Highly recommend it. It's kind of explaining when you have trust with your athlete, like how much they can succeed. And it's a really beautiful story. It's it's related to a student who was on a basketball team, and it's quite an old video, but they do a really good job at explaining the situation with the coach.
Just a
Yep.
second. Leslie had her hand up there for a minute. In a virtual sense.
My hand was up because the voice was breaking up, and I wasn't sure if I was the only one it was breaking up for, or if other people were missing little sections.
It was breaking up a little bit for me. I wasn't really missing anything, but I don't know, Laura, you sounded extremely emotional at times.
Oh, like energetic?
Huh. It was pretty clear for me, actually.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
I'll throw in one other anecdote on this, that so I was volunteering at a place where you meet a skier and you are required to evaluate them and take them out immediately. And they were a sit skier, and I said, okay, follow me, we're going to get you into your sit ski. And we went over an area, and I said, oh, look, there's a couple of steps here, do you need a hand? And he said no, and then did something strange with his arms where he spun his wheelchair so that it was balanced only on the two back wheels. And that allowed him to go down 3 steps purely by balancing on the back 3 wheels. At which point I concluded, I think this guy's balance is going to be pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Sounds like X Games almost.
Yeah, very similar kind of stuff.
So,
can I ask a question? You were talking about medical form. Does instructors have access to that prior to meeting with the person that you're paired with? Because you were talking about medical form and you were showing all the information. Is that something that everybody has access to, that you can see, okay, well, I'm going to be paired with this person. Before meeting with this person, I'll go through the medical form to see what the issues. That's not clear to me.
I can take that one as a, so every program's a little bit different. It used to be at Edelweiss, we had a book that if you were assigned to somebody, you'd go get the book, you'd open it up, it had medical, it would have what they did the week before, what they're working on for the week that you're with that person. There's tons of information in there. With Snowline now, we get that information, it's all on Snowline. So if you're assigned to somebody, you have access to their information. Not everybody does, but whoever's assigned to ski with them. So it's medical information, how they made out the progress cards from the week before, all of that. So how they ski, what equipment they use, that's all provided. As a level 1, you're not really overly good at assessing people. You need more time, you need to see more people. So normally there's 2 or 3 people in a program that will do the assessing. But like Colin said, some programs, like I'm sure he was talking about Winter Sports Clinic in Colorado, the way they work is you get a very little piece of medical, like size, weight, age, and what the medical condition is. You have to make an assessment on that. You go pick the equipment, you go see the person, and then you try and get them skiing. But the programs here, they have progress books or Snowline, whatever they're using. You should have information before you go skiing with them, or somebody will brief you.
Okay, so it's a good idea. If I understand clearly, Jeff, it's a good idea to read all the information prior to meeting with the person, even if you're only a level 1.
Yeah.
And I guess that goes the same for the ski equipment, from goggle to ski, depending on what kind of skier there is. That's what you would recommend, different skis or different boots or different bindings. Is that correct?
More for, are they tethered? Do you use a waist tethers on them, or do you tether them from the boots, or what kind of sit ski? Because that normally you set them up at the beginning of the season and then the same sit ski. So at Edelweiss, you go get number 5 for Judy, and handheld outriggers number 12. It's all laid out for you if you're only skiing with them for 1 week. Because we try and pair people.
Level 1 skier instructor, you're probably not making those decisions.
No,
you're probably somebody at the start of the year the senior instructors of the program are evaluating the skiers, writing it all down, making decisions on who's going to use which, and then you'll be given some information and told, okay, you're skiing with Judy. She's a stand-up four-tracker. She uses a snow slider. It's snow slider number 2. But you should know enough to watch and think maybe this is not the right equipment, and maybe I should get somebody more senior to reevaluate because they've improved. And you should know enough to look at it and go, okay, this snow slider is set up for somebody who's 4'6" and this person is 6'2", and I need to make a bunch of adjustments, even though it's the same equipment they were skiing with last week.
Okay, perfect. And I know, Jeff, you were talking about never asking about the why, but what if they provide you with this information and it's something
Perfect.
that they want
Perfect.
to talk about it? I guess we don't change the subject. We'll let them talk about.
No, if they're willing to open up, ask whatever questions you want. You just don't open up with, my example is, and I used to do it when we were teaching level 2s and 3s, I would be the person in the wheelchair. Somebody would come up to me and go, oh, how'd you get injured? And my response will be, I was drinking, my family was in the car, I killed my wife and 2 kids in the back seat, and that's not really a good way to start a lesson. So how they got injured,
descending to tears for 10 minutes,
and then I start crying, and it throws them off a little bit. So if they want to open up, God, ask all the questions. Guys down in the winter sports clinic, a lot of them want to talk about it. Some of them want nothing to do with talking about it. But if they want to talk about it, ask whatever questions you want.
Thank you.
Within reason.
Yeah, how does this affect your sex life? Might not be something we need to know.
So moving quite along, we have just lots to, this was just a quick fatigue chart just to remind everyone that to be cognizant of your endurance of your student that might lead to an accident if we don't if we're not aware of the signs of someone being fatigued. And the last slide I have here is kind of side by side the code of ethics and the code of conduct and our duty of care. And so knowing that our duty of care starts when you meet your student with or without a parent, and up to the student is back with that guardian, or if it's not with a guardian and it's just maybe it's an adult that and they have left your site in the sense that the lesson's done and they are now driven away, then of course your duty of care is no longer there. But with the code of conduct, code of ethics, we're looking at the duties, our professionalism, our safety and responsibility, and our teaching effectiveness. So with our duties, we want to make sure we're empathetic with our participants and instructors, not just our athletes. And we want to provide up-to-date CADS instructions. So it's great you guys are doing that by being trained to certified. So that's great. Professionalism is we want to maintain a positive can-do attitude, be punctual, and be fully aware of the power of relationships between yourself and your participants. Very important there to understand that balance. Safety and responsibility, be aware of liability issues, duty of care, Alpine Code, which you just kind of touched base there. Teaching effectiveness, communication, verbal, nonverbal, teach per learning style, using our AOT, and having attainable goals, very important. We want to make sure we have realistic goals for our athletes. Code of conduct, they're pretty close to each other, but the code of conduct is related to more respect for peers and participants, teaching responsibility, integrity, and honoring the sport. So we want to treat all participants equal, empower students to be responsible for their behavior, and we want to make sure we're keeping confidentiality. We want to have safety as part of our teaching responsibility, not just physical safety, but mental safety. That is something that we want to make sure that they are confident when they're skiing. And if they're always on edge, then they're not in the best learning environment. So knowing when they're at a state of not a safe state mentally. So integrity act. We want to represent your teaching and qualifications to the knowledge that you know. So if you don't know something, don't just try to wing it, like especially if it comes to your equipment. And if you don't really know the technical, this atomic ski is better than the head ski, we shouldn't really be giving that information. So have integrity and just be respectful of the information that you do know. Honoring the sport, we want to have cooperation, have value in the sport, and respect the effort of others. And that is me signing off. That's all that I have. I'm sorry it was a mouthful. Thank you for trying to stay awake. And I really do suggest when this gets mailed out to check this video. I actually got this video from work for other kind of learning concepts, and I thought this was well worth for people to look at. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I apologize again for any poor network.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Laura before we move on?
No, unfortunately I have to leave for a coaching commitment, but I just wanted to say thanks. That was a good session, and see you guys next week.
Yep,
See you
that's
next
fine.
week.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I'm not hearing any questions, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so you can see the upcoming schedule.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we've done the first 2 weeks of this. We've got a few more this part of the schedule. This is the December part, which is the preliminary parts before we actually get to the on-snow training on individual disciplines. So in January, you'll start skiing at either Calabogie with Tim or at Edelweiss with Jeff. But this is the lead up to there, where we're doing as much as we can in preparation before we get to that point. So next week, we're going to be meeting in on Thursday night, and we're going to be focusing on the first of our disciplines, and we're going to be focusing on skiing with people with visual impairment. That's by Zoom again. I'll be sending out the links, and it'll actually be me doing the presentation next week. I'll be doing it from a hotel room, so let's hope that the internet is good in the hotel room.
Jeff, I have a question, because when we go on Snowline, it shows that on the 15th it's about autism.
Yeah, that's me.
And so it's been switched?
It's been switched. Malcolm, who is our specialist on teaching about people with autism and cognitive impairment, he's not available next week. So I flipped his session, which is now on the 21st, with my session, which was going to be on the 21st and is now going to be on the 15th.
Okay, so that's been switched. Okay, thank you.
So whoever has Tim for the VI thing out at Calabogie, tell him that you want to use the headsets.
The radio headsets?
The radio headsets. Make sure.
Okay.
Tell him you want to train with those, because that's what Ski Hawks uses for everybody now.
We'll be talking about that next week.
Make sure you tell Tim you want to do that, though.
All right.
I'll try to also note that.
No, don't tell him beforehand, just on the VI night.
Okay, I see somebody said copy the presentation and a recording. Yes, I plan to post both of those tomorrow on that resources webpage. Other things that are coming up. So on Saturday, the 17th, we have an in-person on snow training session with Carolyn at Mount Pakenham, where she's going to talk about teaching skiing in general and the CSIA methodology. I checked their website this afternoon. They say they're going to be open this weekend. So I reckon if they're going to be open this weekend, they'll be open that weekend too. If the sky's open or it becomes plus 30 degrees and sunny and we can't ski on that day, we'll come up with a plan B and I'll keep you informed by email.
Jeff, the meeting point for the 17th, is there a point where we meet? Because I've never been to Pakenham. So okay. I don't know the...
I haven't been to, well, sorry, I used to work there. So I do know Pakenham. It's a pretty simple area. They have one lodge and they have a big area in front, flat area in front of the lodge, in front of the two chairlifts. And there's usually a hut in the middle of there with a big bell, which is the ski school meeting place.
Okay, so that's where we meet. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll email, and we can email like a picture of the ski hill and then make a little diagram saying meet here. We can do that, and that'll probably help Carolyn
would
too.
Be a good thing too. But
yes, Carolyn can choose out of that space where she wants everyone to meet.
Yeah.
And those that are Calabogie volunteers that are involved in this sessions too, please go to Carolyn's session. And because you're also a Calabogie volunteer, please come out to the Sunday session and you can sign up on Snowline for coming to our preseason at Calabogie. So I understand you'll do this on the Saturday, and then I encourage you to please come out on the Sunday for those Calabogie volunteers at Calabogie. Just my little spiel.
I see a hand.
Ron JH has their hand up.
Yeah, actually, my name's Chantal, but that's my husband's. It's okay. So I had signed up for Calabogie on the 17th. So I'll take that off and go to Pakenham. Is that what I just heard?
Yes. Yes.
And then I can go on the 18th in
please.
Calabogie. Okay. Thank
yes,
you.
Please. Thanks. I'll keep an eye out for you too.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we decided that Thursday, the 22nd, would be getting a little too close to Christmas. So we are having an event that week, but we moved it one day earlier to Wednesday, the 21st. That was going to be me talking about people with visual impairment, but it's now going to be Malcolm talking about people with autism and CI. And again, if you can't make that one, I plan to have put up videos of all of these things and publish the slides. And then after Christmas, in the week starting 26th of December, we're not going to ask you to attend a particular time, but we do have a homework assignment for you. We have a video which is already on YouTube about sit skis and the associated equipment, so that you will be able to name them and describe the difference between this kind of a sit ski and that kind of a sit ski, and have an idea how to get a sit ski on a chairlift and off a chairlift, those kinds of things. And it's about a 30-minute video. We'll send you the link. That link's actually already on our resources website. So your assignment that week is to find a quiet half an hour and watch that video when it suits you. Okay, we'll review this again next week. I don't think there'll be any changes. Then after this, in January, you start the on snow training with Jeff or Tim.
And I am going to sign off because I want to go home.
Well, that's it. Okay. Anybody got any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.